Hello, my name is Mary Spisky. I'm going to be presenting about the ethical considerations in technology. I'm the nurse manager of the Education and Innovation Department here in the hospital, and I would like to clarify some concepts on the use of smartphones and social media in the facility. It was brought to my attention that in one of our patients' satisfaction survey, one of our patients that were very happy and satisfied with the service of one of our nurses, but in this regard, the nurse was using his personal phone to contact the patient. Based on these facts, I want to highlight the importance of learning about some ethical considerations in relation to the personal smartphone use, as I found out that our staff are routinely using their personal devices to text the providers, use pictures to address some education tips, and which practices raise some concerns in relation of HIPAA and the use of smartphone to deliver care. During my presentation, I'm going to discuss three major topics. Where first, I'm going to talk about the personal use of a smartphone and its implications in healthcare. First of all, the use of a smartphone is a major distraction for some of our nurses. How can we provide quality care to our patients if we're going to be constantly using the cell phone back and forth? It really does not provide the best service to our patients, and it's obviously not also gonna have a good outcome if we're constantly on the phone, either for personal usage or to contact other patients while we're taking patients over one in-person person. Secondly, sharing pictures with the purpose of education could be easily considered as a violation of patient privacy. For example, if we lose the device or get stolen, or simply letting other people use your mobile device, we can put in risk the privacy of this patient information. Even if our phone can be target of virus and malwares, potential for security breaches if electronic devices are hacked, lost, or stolen means that recordings or images on such devices can be risky. And yes, our phone poses risks in storing medical images, and physicians or institutions' liability for failure to obtain patients' consents. Usually, consumers' mobile apps for photo documentations do not meet the standards criteria of care that are reasonable and expected to ensure patient privacy and to secure the storage of medical documentations. For example, Dropbox, iCloud, Facebook, Google+, and Instagram are among all others an expanding group of app programs with the capability to automatically access documents and images stored on mobile devices. But the problem with this is that images can be easily even be transferred or shared widely on social networks or backup in non-secure systems, so the data can become public quite easily without sufficient protections. So two key issues here to remember is images require special storage and consent. So one important fact that I would like to share is that 41% of the healthcare employees are now password protected, and 53% access unsecure Wi-Fi networks with their smartphones. Another important point is texting medical information, and that brings and raises serious concerns. Despite hospital restrictions, and recent reports suggest that our staff nurses use personal smartphones for clinical communication and workflow. As a result, the hospital is concerned with some type of HIPAA-related security risk. Nurses send patient data using, but among doctors and much more, and is very common. Nurses send text messages and use app-based messaging or use picture messaging to send patient-related clinical information to their colleagues. Although a smartphone can be beneficial to healthcare facilities, the risks are very clear. The possibility of security breaches and it really compromises the patient data and can undermine the connectivity and safety of the healthcare environment. Mobile devices are really revolutionating the practice of medicine, but there are substantial risks in terms of data and image privacy. With all this said, it's important to understand how mobile technologies are used and find ways to manage these resources to ensure that benefits are maximized and risks to patients' privacy and to physicians are mitigated. So let me mention some potential benefits. Over the past decade, the use of a smartphone has exponentially grown, making it hard to image life even without them. According to the IBA research, this is a market intelligence company, the number of smartphones around the world totals around 1.4 million. With that being said, a smartphone continues to evolve depending on the user needs by making calls, receiving or sending email, text messaging, and even mapping the location of a medical provider or hospital, searching for medical information, and even sending data from a medical device over short distances. Our physicians and nurses are regularly using it for work-related tasks, are diagnosing and treating patients more efficiently because they are more confident at what they do. Smartphones also help significantly to reduce the amount of time it takes to complete administrative tasks, help increase collaboration among other professionals, and have the potential to eliminate between 11 to 13% of office visits through the use of mobile health technologies such as monitoring, email, text messaging with patients. So in overall, the potential benefits to the appropriate use of smartphones in healthcare are better point of coordination, better direct patient management. This also will enhance physician efficiency. It will increase diagnostic accuracy and will improve education, communication in real time, and also is good to provide patient education. Now let's also look at some uses of social media and its implications in healthcare. Benefits. Healthcare professionals can use social media to potentially improve health outcomes, develop a professional network, increase personal awareness of news and discoveries, motivate patients, and provide health information to the community. Many social tools are available and include social networking platforms, blogs, microblogs, wikis, media sharing sites, and virtual realities and gaming environments. These tools can be used to improve or enhance professional networking and education for organizational promotion, patient care, patient education, and public health programs. There are different ones and for different reasons, but it could be used Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, bloggers, Wikipedia, etc. Also, physicians can often join online communities where they can read news, articles, listen to experts, research medical developments, consult colleagues regarding patients' issues. They can even share cases and discuss practice management, make referrals, disseminate research, and to do also health advocacy. And also, we don't want to forget that they can provide patient care and education. However, they also present a potential risk to the patients, and healthcare providers can be threatened by the distribution of poor quality information, damage to professional image. They can also breach the patient's privacy, violate the personal professional boundaries, and have issues with licensing or even legal issues. For instance, I would like to mention a few unethical use of social media according to the NORS Guide to the Use of Social Media, called NCSBN. These violations could happen when when the nurses mismanage the patient record, when nurses are making negative comments online, also by transmitting electronic media with patient related images. Another important violation to name is by using even the patient's name, poster, or publish this information. Those are examples of how this can be violated. All this information there are few organisms that can help regulate the ethic and provide ethical frameworks to protect personal health information. It could be HIPAA, it could be HITECH, or even the Nurse Code of Ethics. The Nurse Code of Ethics, HIPAA, is the primary law that oversees the use of, access, and disclose personal health information in the United States. It regulates who must adhere to these rules. The organization cannot sell the protect personal information unless it's for public health activities, research, treatment, services rendered, or to merger or acquisition of a HIPAA-covered entity. It refers to demographic information, medical history, lab results, mental health conditions, insurance information, and other data that a healthcare professional collects to identify an individual and determine proper care. On the other hand, we also have HITECH. The HITECH Act is the Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health Act. It provides HHS with the authority to establish programs to improve healthcare quality, safety, and efficiency through the promotion of health IT, including health records and private and secure electronic health information exchange. HITECH changed the nature of the real relation among healthcare professionals, organizations, patients, and payers by focusing on the implementation and use of health information technology. It puts emphasis on privacy and security, including expanding applications and enforcement. Also, we have the Nurse Code of Ethics that establishes the ethical standards for the profession and provide also guides to make ethical nurse decisions. It also ensures integrity and safety. Competence nurses have to consider their issues when advocating for patients and families, as well as considering their own personal beliefs when caring for others. Violations to this information have legal consequences, and it depends on the severity of the violation. Failure to comply with the HIPAA can result not only in civil monetary fines, but also criminal violations, and depending of the severity, they can even go to jail. Thank you for my presentation. Hope that all these concepts are clear. And if you have any questions, please you can email me back for some more clarifications.